Hello once again to this continuous coverage of International Day for Yoga, and we're talking about well, Yoga for Humanity, which is the theme for this 8th International Day for Yoga. And let's tell you what's been happening, because we've been getting you this relay coverage of iconic international locations where yoga has been performed today, right from 3 a.m. IST, and this will be going on till 10 p.m. IST, 19 straight hours of this relay coverage of live yoga events. As the sun moves across the globe, it kisses those surfaces. We're bringing you these live broadcasts as well. In the course of that broadcast, let's just take you through what has been happening. It has already happened at different locations around the globe. Let's tell you what happened, in fact, in Ashgabat. Well, the Ashgabat Yoga Center in Turkmenistan, that was inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in 2015, saw several practitioners perform the yoga protocol. This International Yoga and Traditional Medicine Center is located at the Bagdiark Sports Complex.
Backward bending. Namaste. Turn to your right. Turn to your right. On the count of 3, come back. 1, 2, 3. Now on to the left. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now slowly bring your hands down. Put your right leg up on your thighs.
And now we're taking you across live to Georgetown, Guyana, where again the sun has risen, and it's about 8:30 in the morning local time over there. The venue is the Indian Arrival Monument. That's in Palmyra, Berbice in Guyana. What we're going to see over there is yoga being performed at a landmark spot. This is an iconic and historic statue that was donated by the government of India and the people of India to the government of Guyana and the people of Guyana. It represents this and celebrates the resilience, strength and struggle of the first indentured laborers brought from India and settled in Guyana, which has a sizable Indian origin population as well. Let's just take a look at what's happening over there.
Exhale, relax. Turn your right soul outward. Breathing, stretch your arms out. Palms facing forward. Exhale, bend to your right. 1, 2, 3. Breathing, come back. 1, 2, 3. Exhale, relax. The other side, turn your left leg outward. Breathing. Exhale, bend. 1.
Namaste. A very good morning to all of you. The Honorable Charles Ramson, Jr., Minister of Culture, Youth and Sport of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. His Excellency Dr. K.J. Srinivasa, High Commissioner of India to Guyana, and Madam Ashwini. Vice Chairman RDC, Mr. Zamal Hussain.
Like I said, these images are from Georgetown, Guyana, and the yoga protocol is being performed over there by people who have been following this form of both exercise and meditation, really, for the spirit, the soul and the body, for some time now. And this is being performed at the Indian Arrival Monument in Palmyra, Berbice, Guyana. The Indian Arrival Monument, like I mentioned, is quite a spot. It's actually a historic statue that's been donated by the government of India to the government of Guyana,
on behalf of
from
the High
one
Commission of
set of
India
people really to
and
the
Swami
other,
Vivekananda Cultural
and it
Center,
represents and celebrates
it
the
is my
resilience,
great
strength and
pleasure
struggle of the
to
first
welcome you all
indentured
on the
laborers brought
occasion
from
of
India
the
and settled in
celebration
Guyana.
of the
Indentured
8th
laborers, as in
International Day of Yoga
for
at
all
the
practical purposes, they
iconic
were
and
enslaved and
historic
taken to Guyana
Indian Arrival
from India
Monument located in
to work
Palmyra
in different
province
plantations.
of Guyana. Yoga, as you know, is a
So that
time-tested discipline.
was Guyana. This means good airs, and it is what it means literally, good air. In Argentina, this is the Abasto Hotel in Buenos Aires. In fact, in Buenos Aires, yoga has been performed on 2 days, one preceding the International Day for Yoga, that is on the 20th of June. That was at a different, larger venue at the Polideportivo Club Atlético de Boca Juniors. That's the club of the Boca Juniors, which is an esteemed football club in Argentina. We all know that in Argentina, football is very, very intrinsic to their culture. They've been world champions several times. Maradona, the hand of God, is from Argentina. So the venue for yoga too was a football venue, the Boca Juniors. That was yesterday, and now today, this morning, the images that you're seeing are at the Abasto Hotel, which is in a very central location in the city and is frequented by all shades of people in the country, and it has also been picked for this live event at Buenos Aires, Argentina in Latin America. Very lively music also being played along with that, the sitar and the tabla predominating. Along with that, the instructor's words, which are being followed diligently by those who are part of this yoga demonstration. So those were some of the live images from Buenos Aires in Argentina. Before that, we'd taken you to Guyana as well. That is what the International Day for Yoga has been throughout the day as far as, well, this auspicious day is concerned. It's the day of the solstice as well, the summer solstice. It's the longest day of the year too, and that is why the International Day of Yoga is also being celebrated on this day. It started in 2015. It's been the 8th edition now, and we're going through it and going around the world as well with that, because that's how the day began. It began from the extreme east, where the sun's first rays touch the earth, and they're going to the extreme west as well. That's how this day has been progressing till about 10 p.m. That's where we will be, and we're talking with different people, different shades of opinion about yoga as well, just to see how it has become part of our lives, because it plays a key role as far as for those who practice this very, very diligently. We have Dr. S.M. Raheja with us as well, senior physician, and he's former MS at the GB Pant Hospital in New Delhi as well. Thank you for staying with us, Dr. Raheja, and just wanted to ask you again, the way that we see yoga progressing, and it's been taken on very strongly in the world, there is definite conviction that it has a very, very huge bearing with the way our health is concerned, and if we want to get a grip on our lives in general, beyond even health, just to get a sense of discipline and understanding of what life is all about, yoga can play a big part in that as well too?
Yes, the most important is, health is the most important aspect of our life. निरोगी काया सबसे बड़ा सुख है. Health is wealth. योग बनाए निरोग. So with that aspect, if you see, yoga is very important to promote our health and prevent so many lifestyle diseases. Yoga basically integrates individual spirit with the universal spirit. It integrates body, mind, intellect, and yoga is not merely the physical exercise, but it is beyond that. It brings oneness in yourself, in ourself, in nature and the world. So it is something beyond physical exercise. The difference between physical exercise and yoga is, yoga will touch the physical health, mental health, spiritual health, and as well as social health also, because it changes our behavior also. How we look at the universe, how we look at the life and different aspect of life. So if you see, yoga has been going from one country to another, and now it has gone all over the world. I think more than 179 countries, and if we see, since morning 3 a.m. from east, from Australia it started, Japan, yes, then India, then Europe, now it's US. So you can see, yoga is one science. It's a very subtle science, it's a very deep science. And if you see, yoga is the creation of Lord Shiva 5000 years ago, and after that our goddess and our saints, they continued, and today we have seen that yoga has gone leaps and bounds to all over the world, and yes, we find so many types of yoga now. If you see, there is a power yoga, office yoga, but what I feel is, the basic science, the basic essence remains the same, that you have to unite individual spirit with the universal spirit.
Definitely. We're joined by two more guests and experts really with us. Subodh Tiwari, CEO, Keval Yadama, Secretary General, Indian Yoga Association, also with us, and we're also joined by Professor Bhanu Duggal, Head Department of Cardiology at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences in Rishikesh. Rishikesh, in fact, is said to be, well, it's a self-styled center of Goa, of yoga, I'm sorry, and the origin of yoga is supposed to have taken place from there as well. So, Dr. Duggal, Professor Duggal, could you tell us, if and you're also the head of Department of Cardiology, where yoga apparently is of great help in managing the ailment, which is essentially the biggest killer in the world and is a lifestyle disease.
So yoga is very important for cardiovascular health. And basically what has been seen and what has been a recent phenomena from Dean Ornish, who came forth with the aspect of in 1990 that yoga is a lifestyle disorder. And he attributed diet, physical exercise and yoga, diet and exercise for prevention of cardiovascular disease. So it was the first time in 1990. However, if we go back to 3000 years, even to the Indus Valley civilization, then to our Ayurvedic text, that is the Charak Samhita, it is clearly mentioned that yoga is yoga decreases stress. So stress has been said to be a very important cause of angina, and I can quote from the text which says, Tatmahat ta mahabhula satveojo parirakshata parihartha visheshna manso dukha hetva. So he who wishes to protect from harm this great organ, the heart, and the great rooted ones, the coronary blood vessels and the vital essence, should scrupulously avoid all that causes affliction to the mind. So how is yoga different from the normal aerobic exercises which have been attributed by Dean Ornish and by Dean Ornish in his lifestyle changes, is that it also does not talk only of the physical exercise but talks of meditation and pranayam. So pranayam, and very recently studies from Harvard have quoted that coherent breathing decreases stress and anxiety. Hence yoga is a complete science. It deals not only with physical wellness but mental and spiritual wellness. Hence the importance of yoga. And Rishikesh is, yes, the abode of yoga. And there are a lot of ashrams and many people from all over the world flock to yoga. It has been seen in studies that yoga decreases hypertension, blood pressure. It decreases the requirement of medication. So if a patient is on 2 or 3 medications for control of hypertension, starts practicing yoga regularly. So yoga acts slowly on the body because it acts to alleviate the parasympathetic drive. It has to be done very regularly and for some time. So if we do yoga once or twice for a week and then say, oh, it has not made an effect, it is a slow but a permanent effect. It decreases the drug requirement of medications in hypertension.
Okay.
It decreases the requirement of repeated angioplasty. So if a patient comes to us with a heart attack but we put him on a cardiac rehab program, which includes yoga, it has been seen that it decreases the recurrence of heart attacks. Hence, we have to emphasize the importance of yoga. The third important fact is that for schools, because atherosclerosis starts at the age of 10, the deposition of atheroma starts at the age of 10 years. And then it culminates into the heart attacks, which we see in the 3rd and the 4th decade of life. So International Yoga Day has definitely made aware a large number of people. It has exposed them to the benefits of yoga. And if we start doing this lifestyle change in school, then then the number of heart attacks will decrease markedly. Therefore, it's an ancient science which is rooted to about 3,000 to 4,000 years back. It's a complete science, and many of the discoveries which we now make, okay, I'm going to the gym, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, has been rooted in our science about 4,000 years back.
Right. If I could bring in Subodh Tiwari here. Subodh Tiwari, you're the Secretary General of the Indian Yoga Association. Just tell us, in terms of how popular yoga has become worldwide, if you talk about within the country, to what extent do you think can yoga be taken to the people to ensure that the entire society is not only disease-free but is healthy within every parameter that now even the WHO accepts, social health as well, apart from mental and physical and other aspects of health?
Yeah, namaskar, and I'm happy to be here. the Ministry of Ayush pegged the figures at 25 crores, the practitioners of yoga, this IDY they wanted to reach. And as far as the widespread knowledge of yoga and practice is concerned, I think we have to understand that yoga essentially is science of prevention and maintaining good health and wellness. The application of yoga for therapy is a byproduct of yoga. And that's why we say the component of physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual health is what it looks at primarily. So with the efforts to introduce yoga at the level of school education, into higher education, into primary health centers, into promoting it as a science of well-being, what we will see probably is less need for intervention from modern medicines.
Right.
So that I believe is the strength which yoga possesses. And as we have seen even in the evidence-based studies which have been done in pandemic, that mental health played a very vital role in people's recovery and survival. And yoga addresses that aspect in a strength which is unique to it. So I will again emphasize that yoga is a science of health, healing and well-being, preventive in nature. The application of yoga as a therapy is a byproduct which comes only at a later point of time.
Right. And to take it to the least common denominator and really expand its ambit, that is something that a lot of people are doing on a voluntary basis, on a commercial basis, and yet you have people who still don't fully understand what it is. Why do you think that we have a sort of a dichotomy there?
Well, I think, one thing which is to yoga is the diverse schools which it has, the diverse principles it has. And therefore, what happens generally is that it's sometimes it is like a story of 6 blind men and an elephant, where people have different perspectives of yoga in mind. Some might think it is only asanas, that is physical postures. Some people may think it's only the aspect of breathing. Some may only relate it to a spiritual experience. So that is true, but I will be very emphatic in saying that the International Day of Yoga has brought a great amount of awareness into the real essence of yoga. And I think this is the way forward. So though we may have the least common denominator which does not probably subscribe completely to the philosophy of yoga, but slowly we have already started, we have covered a large base of people. Imagine 25 crore people practicing yoga on an IDY, and this is the Indian figure. Globally, there are millions of people devoted to this. So it will take, in some time you will have the real essence reaching everyone. Yoga as a word, probably everyone knows it. No one will now even raise the eyebrow saying, yoga, what does it mean? Only, I think, sometimes, variety also is interesting and is good. Not everything needs to be standard. But IDY is a way forward, more and more people coming on board, more and more people gaining the knowledge and more people gaining the experience.
Okay, let's get Dr. Raheja's perspective here as well. Dr. Raheja, we've seen how, in the case of Ayurveda, it's been happening. Standardization has been happening. The way it's taught is also getting standardized. Curricula have been defined, and the basic standards have been set as well as to what should a medicine be. Is that something that is possible in yoga, or it's something that should not really even be attempted because that might interfere with the way that the people are taking to it?
Yes, basically whenever you are doing yoga, yogasana should be comfortable and effortless. That is the key.
But little effort is required to touch your toes.
It should be stable. Like you are doing to a pose, you are stretching your body. You are doing Tadasana, then you should only stretch to a level where there is no expression of stress on your face. You should feel normal. So you have to be comfortable and stable. And at the same time, there is an involvement of psychophysical. Your mind is also involved in that. Once you are stretching, whatever yoga asana you are doing, you are focusing from the mind, you are synchronizing with the breathing. If you
Yes.
see every yogasana,
Yes,
they tell
that's
you
from the
take a deep
practitioner's
breath.
perspective. But I was talking about, the discipline itself, the profession itself, if you can call it a profession, that there is a standardization that is taking place. It's happening with Ayurveda. Should that happen with yoga as well? Is that something that should be attempted, or will it interfere with the way it is progressing right now?
I will tell you basic yoga, what is being done at a standard institutes like government Ayush Mantralaya जो जिनको cover कर रहा है, like there is a standardization. If you see the ancient yogic science, there is a very subtle way of doing particular asana. When you have to take a breathe, you have to do deep breathing, when you have to release the breath, how much you have to stretch, how long you have to keep yourself in that position and then you relax. So, it is a very deep science which integrates mind, body and energy. So, we have to unite all three together, and you have to basically have that psychophysical attachment also, like mind, body and energy should go in a harmony.
Right.
And that is how you will feel a feeling of bliss, happiness and harmony. So, it integrates one to one self,
Right. Right.
nature and universe.
Right.
So, I will say it is a science which has to be practiced under the guidance of a qualified yoga teacher in the beginning. Later on you can practice it yourself.
Okay.
And it has to be preferably done in a good environment which is open, green, full of air and oxygen. And
Professor
preferably
Dugal,
in the
if I
morning.
could, yeah, morning is preferable time wise. Now, Professor Dugal, if I could get your take on this as well, in terms of standardization and all that has been done now in the case of Ayurveda, because that adds to its credibility at one level, but yoga is something that is a bit more freewheeling, and there are different schools of thought in it. So, what should be the way forward here?
So, regarding standardization, so we are in allopathic medicine, we have to learn the correct methodology from a expert yoga teacher, and we have to know the correct methodology. But even in allopathic medicine now, we have started moving and talking of precision medicine. That means
we seem to be having a bit of a trouble with that link with Professor Dugal. Subodh Tiwari, if I could ask you, what has also happened, especially during the pandemic phase, a lot of things moved online, from schooling to people working, and even exercising moved online. People took to watching a lot of videos, or even watching YouTube lives of different yogacharyas and teachers. Now, of course, some people have started going back to the offline mode as well, and they've been looking for one-on-one training, where yogacharyas come to their home or to their society and teach a small group of people. So, is this something that is a healthy trend, where the growth of yoga is concerned and the growth of a holistic practice, a lifestyle practice is concerned in our country and even worldwide?
I think, pandemic was a time of exceptions. And therefore, it was good that at least something was being practiced virtually. It has its own advantage. But yoga, in essence, is an experiential science. It needs to be done under guidance of an expert, because every science has its limitation, it has its contraindications, and therefore, even in yogasanas, pranayam, bandha mudra, you will need to have an expert who guides you into the proper methodology. The science of yoga being practiced 1:1 or in small groups is very encouraging, because mass yoga practice for general health is good. That's okay, because that's not a problem. But when you speak of intervention of yoga for therapy or for health and well-being, you need to have smaller groups of people where the yoga experts can see what is happening with you. They can see how you are responding to whatever practices you are doing. whether you are doing it correctly or you are not doing it correctly. And therefore, I think it's a very, very good time because we have so many yoga teachers coming out, we have so many yoga universities, you have yoga colleges coming out, qualified yoga teachers available to teach. And the government has announced that even the primary health centers will have yoga instructors. So given this scenario, it is a welcome thing. In principle also, it is advisable that yoga is practiced under direct guidance of an expert, and therefore the way things are moving ahead is a good thing to happen.
And this expert would have also gone through training which is standardized, so that standardization aspect does come in somewhere.
You have actually raised a very good, important and relevant question for the yoga fraternity. Standardization is absolute standardization may not be possible in yoga because of different lineage. But please remember, we'll substitute this word standardization into minimum standards.
Okay.
So what has already happened with Ministry of Ayush making a yoga certification board, we have certification of yoga teachers which establishes minimum standards. So you have level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, yoga teacher, yoga instructor, yoga protocol teacher. So any individual who has qualified a level 3 YCB is equivalent to a yoga teacher. Now he may have done from different lineage, but when he goes through a YCB certification, he standardizes his knowledge to a minimum level. So you are sure that his minimum competency to transact that knowledge of yoga in theory and practical is there to a certain extent. So minimum standard is important. We need to have teachers who are knowledgeable in that factor, and this something like a YCB or even the Indian Yoga Association, which has all the national level institutions together, offers certification, which means that there might be differences in various methodologies, but in principle, we are same. So asan is asan for all. You might have different methods in it, but in essence, there is a common concurrence in a circle, which we focus on.
And in terms of, say, in a yoga session, there is one which is a physical part, the other is the breathing part, and then, of course, comes the meditation and relaxation. The proportionality of that is also something that one would look at as far as those minimum standards are concerned?
It has already been looked at, because it's like, just imagine a situation where the kid is going from lower KG to higher KG to grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. Similarly, in yoga, these practices are evolving. You get stable at the physical level, your breath comes into play, you are good at breath levels, you probably land up into a place of concentration. So all these aspects which can be done, we have to be very clear, which can be practiced, can be having minimum standards. Something which happens, you cannot go into the spiritual realms and say that we need to standardize that. That is something which is a very personal experience. So minimum standards are good where we are talking of training in yoga or yoga therapy, whereas yoga is concerned for personal spiritual experiences. There arises no question of setting any standards, because that is an individual liberty to go as deep as possible, which is the essence of yoga. So training therapy is one aspect, one vertical. The spiritual experiences or people who are desirable of going deeper into that realms is a completely separate vertical.
Okay, would you say that something like Kundalini yoga would fall in that category?
Of course, there are so many, which focus on spiritual growth, and spiritual growth is very, very personal to individual, and therefore it cannot be standardized.
Right.
Or even minimum standards.
Right. And Professor Bhanu Duggal, you spoke extensively about, how in cardiology yoga is proving to be very, very useful. In terms of other aspects of health, of disease, where else do you feel that, patients benefit when some sort of a protocol, post-operative or post-curative, where yoga is involved, has been very helpful in terms of, because cancer is now the second largest killer in the world, has it been helpful in that case as well?
Okay. A very useful question. So what is happening now is the non-communicable diseases, that is the NCDs. And This includes cancer, hypertension, cardiac disorders, so a number of disorders, the non-communicable diseases. Now, all of them are finding a common origin. So the common origin is the gut microbiome. So whatever you eat and what is absorbed ultimately will lead to the various disorders, the non-communicable diseases. And you would be surprised that the gut microbiome with the healthy bacteria which are there in the colon, they get altered depending upon the diet. So if you have a sattvic diet or a healthy diet, the gut microbiota are preserved. And as we trend towards the fast foods, the entire gut microbiome is changed. So a lot of tests and a lot of research is going and is happening to study the gut microbiome and their relationship with the non-communicable diseases. So yoga again not only includes, it's a way of life. It should not be a part of life. It should be a way of life. It also defines the diet. And the entire problem is the diet is the beginning. So diet, exercise and pranayam and the spiritual thing. So the role of the gut microbiome is very important, and hence it leads, role of yoga will be there in adapting to the yogic lifestyle will be like challenging the occurrence, preventing the occurrence of non-communicable diseases. Not only that, coming to the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, its relationship was also seen. It was seen that patients who had the altered gut microbiome were more prone to have COVID complications.
Okay.
So it's going to be useful in infectious as well as non-infectious diseases, adapting to a yogic way of living.
Sounds great, sounds great. Dr. Raheja, in fact, we spoke about this earlier in one of our earlier sessions about COVID and post-COVID or long COVID issues. Do you think yoga has been useful there as well in terms of patients who've suffered from long COVID or have had repeated COVID infections and have felt an impact of that on their
Yes,
health?
even I have treated so many COVID patients myself during this. What happened is whosoever got COVID infection was very fearful. You know, fear of death and complications. So we have
That in itself is very stressful.
multidisciplinary holistic approach. Once medicines are given as per the protocol, as per the recommendation, but at the same time good diet and to deal with the emotional and mental stress of the patient with deep breathing like Asana, I was advising to all my patients. Those had COVID infection.
Right, Ojo.
And that had a scientific basis. Asana is done in the prone position, you are taking a deep breath and then you are exhaling out. So what happened in COVID, we could see that the basal part of the lungs, they were full of secretions and clogged up. So once you are in the prone position and doing deep breathing, Asana,
Gets expelled.
your basal part of the posterior inferior, back and lower part of the lung is inflated and the secretions are chucked out. So this is how it worked very well with my patients. And even in the post-COVID phase, for the post-COVID sequelae, as we know, Yogasana, we have deep breathing, pranayam, Asana, Bhramari, all these way of doing yoga improve the cardiorespiratory function of the patient. Of course, it has to be done after a thorough checkup by a physician, qualified doctor, because post COVID there was a lot of inflammation in the heart, the inflammatory markers were raised, there were a lot of fibrosis
Dr. Saab,
in the
I'm
lung.
sorry, I'll have to interrupt
So
you because
decide.
right now we're getting a live input from New York. That is another place, an iconic location really, where this International Day of Yoga, people are getting together to perform yoga.
I would encourage all of you to please take a sampling before you go. On 5th June the world celebrated World Environment Day. And on the occasion, the Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, gave a call for Mission Life, that is lifestyle for the environment. I urge all of you to join this mission for a better tomorrow, to nourish the planet, to live a sustainable life, a life in harmony with nature. With that, I would like to introduce our guest of honor today, most respected, most revered, Swami Acharya Avdeshanand Giriji. He's come from India, he's here with us, and I would like to invite him to say a few words to encourage a yoga enthusiast and to encourage everybody to join the movement for yoga, the movement for unity, and yoga for unity, yoga for humankind, and yoga for togetherness. So with that, and before that, I would like to thank Times Square Alliance, President Tom Harris, for giving us this opportunity, and all our sponsors for joining in celebration of International Day of Yoga. Thank you very much. Swamiji, can we have your presence on stage? Namaste.
Thank you. Om Asato ma sadgamaya Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Om Amrato ma Mrityorma amratam gamaya. This means lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Hari Om. I'm very happy to be here. My very warm welcome to you all. Today, Mr. Randhir Jaiswal, CG of India, Deputy CG Honorable Varun Jain, it gives me immense pleasure to address you today on the International Yoga Day at the historic Times Square, the vibrant financial capital of the world and the center of many cultures. It is an absolute honor to represent my country, the incredible India, and the land of yoga. Samatvam Yog Uchyate. This Sanskrit verse simply means evenness of mind is known as yoga. Evenness means uniformity. Actually, the word is yog, and yog means union of the mind, body, intellect, and soul. It's a journey towards divinity and completion of life. It gives peace, joy, harmony, and ultimate bliss. And we are all seeking bliss. Actually, yoga means to unlock oneself to become infinite and absolute. The practice of yoga brings firmness of mind. Such a mind is not easily excited or easily depressed. That's why mental health disorders such as anxiety and depression are cured by yoga. We already know the benefits of yoga on physical health. An ancient Sanatan Vedic Dharma, which is the foundation of India, we believe that God is in nature for us, flowing rivers, tall mountains, vast skies, shimmering stars, blazing suns, glowing moons, and all living creatures reflect God. We therefore believe that everything we see and experience in the world is a reflection of the one God. Human life is a precious gift from the Almighty, and getting a human birth is a unique and divine opportunity, an opportunity for spiritual evolution. The ultimate purpose of the life is liberation or moksha. We can make this possible through spiritual practices such yoga.